I was 38 when I died, and in those moments standing before Jesus, holding my daughter's hand in eternity, I finally understood why she had to leave me, why God allowed the most devastating loss of my life, why heaven sometimes breaks our hearts to heal our souls. My name is Rachel Ann Morrison. I lived in a town called Riverside, a place where the seasons changed beautifully and life moved at a gentle pace, where neighbors knew each other and children played in tree-lined streets. I died on September 19, 2022 at 4:27 in the afternoon. It wasn't an accident. It wasn't a disease. I chose to die because I couldn't live anymore without her, without my Emma. But what Jesus showed me in those moments changed everything, not just about death, but about life, about purpose, about the eternal perspective that transforms unbearable pain into unshakable hope. Before we go any further, before I take you into the deepest pain and the most profound healing I've ever experienced, I need you to do something with me. Close your eyes, right now, for 3 seconds, and whisper these words. Jesus, help me understand. Say it softly. Say it from whatever pain or confusion or loss you're carrying right now. If you feel anything when you say those words, even a small stirring, even the faintest hope, then this message is for you. He's still answering. He's still revealing. He's still turning tragedy into testimony. I don't know why you're here. I don't know what loss you've suffered or what questions you're carrying, but I know that nothing is random. So stay. Please stay. Because what Jesus showed me about why children are sometimes taken might bring you the peace you've been desperately searching for. I was a good mother. Let me start there. Because after Emma died, I tortured myself with that question. Was I good enough? Did I do enough? Could I have prevented it? And I need you to know, I was a good mother, not perfect, but good, loving, present, devoted. Emma was born on a spring morning 7 years before she died, April 14th, 2015. 7 pounds, 3 ounces, 20 inches long. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. From the moment they placed her in my arms, I knew my life had changed forever. I had been searching for purpose, for meaning, for something that mattered. And suddenly, there she was. My purpose, my meaning, my everything. My husband David and I had been married for 6 years when Emma was born. We were happy, not perfect, but happy. He was a high school teacher. History. I was a nurse at the county hospital. We had a small house with a yard, a dog named Bailey, a life that was simple but full. And then Emma arrived, and everything became more joy, more love, more color, more meaning. She was extraordinary from the beginning, not just to me, to everyone. She had these eyes, big, brown, full of wonder. She looked at the world like it was magic, like every leaf and every bird and every raindrop was a miracle worth celebrating. She laughed constantly, this pure, uninhibited laugh that made everyone around her smile. She was kind, impossibly kind for a child. If she saw someone sad, she would go to them, touch their hand, ask what was wrong. She gave away her toys to other kids without being asked. She picked flowers for strangers. She told everyone she met that Jesus loved them, because we'd taught her that. We'd raised her in faith. We went to church every Sunday. We prayed before meals. We read Bible stories at bedtime. And she absorbed it all with this beautiful, simple faith that adults lose somewhere along the way. Emma loved life with an intensity that was almost painful to watch. Every morning she woke up excited, ready for adventure, ready to explore, ready to love. She loved dancing. She would spin around the living room in her princess dress, arms outstretched, laughing. She loved painting. She would spend hours at her little table, creating colorful masterpieces that we hung all over the house. She loved animals, every dog, every cat, every bird. She talked to them like they understood, and maybe they did. She loved people. She made friends instantly, at the park, at the store, anywhere. She had no fear, no judgment, just pure, open-hearted love. And she loved me. She told me every single day, multiple times a day, "I love you, Mommy. I love you so much." She would wrap her little arms around my neck and squeeze tight, and I would think, this is heaven, this moment right here. This is everything I ever needed. I thought we had forever. I thought we had years and years ahead of us. First day of school, birthday parties, dance recitals, graduations, her wedding someday, grandchildren, a lifetime together. I never imagined. I never even considered the possibility that she would be taken from me, that I would lose her, that our time together would be counted not in decades, but in years. 7 years. That's all I got. 7 beautiful, precious, irreplaceable years. It happened on a Saturday morning in September. The kind of morning that should have been ordinary, safe, normal. David had taken Bailey for a walk. I was in the kitchen making pancakes, Emma's favorite. She was in the living room watching cartoons. I remember hearing her laugh, that pure, joyful laugh, and I remember smiling, thinking how lucky I was, how blessed, how grateful. And then, silence. The silence caught my attention first, because Emma was never silent. I called out, "Emma, sweetie, everything okay?" No answer. I walked into the living room, and she was on the couch, eyes open, staring at nothing, not blinking, not moving. "Emma?" I ran to her, shook her. "Emma, baby, talk to Mommy." Nothing. Her body was rigid. Her lips were turning blue. I screamed. I grabbed my phone, called 911, started CPR, breathing into her tiny mouth, pushing on her small chest, begging her to come back. "Please, Emma, please, baby, stay with Mommy, please." The paramedics arrived within 6 minutes. It felt like 6 hours. They took over, rushed her to the ambulance. I rode with her, holding her hand, telling her I loved her, telling her to fight, telling her she was going to be okay. But I knew. Somewhere deep inside, I knew. At the hospital, they worked on her for 47 minutes. I counted every single one. David arrived. We stood outside the room, holding each other, praying desperately, bargaining with God. "Take me instead. Take anything. Just let her live. Please, let her live." But she didn't. At 9:23 in the morning, a doctor came out. His face said everything. "I'm so sorry. We did everything we could. She's gone. Gone." Such a small word for such a massive loss. Emma was gone. My baby. My light. My reason for breathing. Gone. The autopsy revealed it was a brain aneurysm. Sudden, unpredictable, unsurvivable. A defect she'd been born with. A ticking time bomb no one knew was there. The doctors said she didn't suffer, that she probably didn't even know what was happening, that it was instantaneous. They said these things like they would comfort me. They didn't. Nothing comforted me. Nothing made sense. Nothing mattered anymore. The funeral was unbearable. A tiny white casket. So small. So wrong. Flowers everywhere. People crying, saying things that meant nothing. She's in a better place. God needed another angel. She's not suffering anymore. Every word felt like a knife, because she wasn't supposed to be in any place. She was supposed to be with me. She was supposed to be 7 years old, running and playing and laughing, not in a casket, not in the ground, not gone. I went through the motions. I stood there. I accepted condolences. I thanked people for coming. I listened to the pastor talk about heaven and eternal life and God's plan. And I felt nothing. Nothing except rage. Rage at God. How could you? How could you take her? She was innocent. She was perfect. She loved you. We served you. We trusted you. And this is what you do? You rip my child from my arms? You destroy my life? For what? For what purpose? What kind of God does that? I stopped praying that day, stopped believing, stopped caring about anything. The weeks after the funeral were a blur. I couldn't work. Couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. Every room in the house reminded me of her Her toys, her clothes, her drawings on the refrigerator, her little shoes by the door. I couldn't throw anything away, but I couldn't look at any of it either. David was drowning too, grieving in his own way, trying to be strong, trying to hold us together. But we were both broken, both shattered, both barely surviving. We stopped talking. What was there to say? We moved around each other like ghosts, sharing space but not life, not anymore, because our life had been Emma. And without her, we were just two people in a house full of memories and unbearable silence. I started having thoughts, dark thoughts, dangerous thoughts. What's the point? Why am I still here? Why should I have to live when she doesn't? It's not fair. It's not right. I should be with her. I need to be with her. People told me it would get better. Time heals all wounds. You'll learn to cope. You'll find meaning again. They were wrong. Time didn't heal anything. It just made the absence more permanent, more real, more unbearable. 3 months after Emma died, I decided I couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't live in a world without her. I couldn't carry this pain another day. I couldn't wake up to another morning knowing she wouldn't be there. So I decided to leave, to go find her, to be with her wherever she was. I planned it carefully. David was at work. I wrote him a letter, told him I loved him, told him I was sorry, told him I just couldn't anymore. I got in the car, drove to the bridge on the edge of town, the old steel bridge that crossed the river, high enough, fast enough. I parked, got out, stood at the railing, looking down at the water below, and I thought about Emma, about her smile, her laugh, her little arms around my neck, and I thought, I'm coming, baby, Mommy's coming. And I climbed over the railing, and I let go. The fall was shorter than I expected. The impact was harder. The water was colder. And then, nothing. Just darkness. Just silence. Just an end to the pain. Or so I thought. But I was standing, dry, whole. I looked down. My body was in the water, floating, lifeless. And I felt nothing for it. No fear, no regret, no connection. I was free. Finally free of the pain. Finally able to find Emma. Where is she? I called out. Emma, Mommy's here. Where are you, baby? And then, light, warm, golden, surrounding me, lifting me. And I wasn't by the river anymore. I was somewhere else, somewhere beautiful, somewhere that felt like home. And standing before me was Jesus. I knew it was him, not because of how he looked, but because of how I felt. Completely known, completely loved, completely seen. And he said with infinite tenderness, Rachel, welcome. But you're not staying. What? No, I need to find Emma. I need to see my daughter. Where is she? Please, I need to see her. He smiled, gently, sadly. You will. But first you need to understand. I don't want to understand. I just want to see her. And he said, I know. But if you see her without understanding, you'll still carry the pain. You'll still carry the questions. You'll still carry the rage. And I don't want that for you. So come. Let me show you why. He took my hand. And everything shifted. We were no longer in the light. We were somewhere else. And I saw Earth, not the whole planet, but a moment. A specific moment, and I realized I was watching my own life. I was 20 years old, lost, broken, addicted to prescription pills, living with a boyfriend who abused me, working a dead-end job, hating myself, contemplating suicide almost daily. I barely remembered that version of myself. I'd buried her, forgotten her. But Jesus showed me, and he said, this was you before Emma, before David, before faith, before hope. You were dying, Rachel, slowly, painfully, and I was watching, waiting, reaching out. But you couldn't hear me, you couldn't see me, you were too lost. And then I saw myself in a hospital. I'd overdosed, accidental, or maybe not. I'd taken too many pills and passed out. Someone found me, called an ambulance, and in that hospital bed, A nurse came to check on me, an older woman, kind eyes, gentle voice, and she said something that broke through. She said, "God has a plan for you, sweetheart. I don't know what it is, but you're still here. That means it's not finished." And for some reason those words stuck. I couldn't shake them. God has a plan for you. And slowly, very slowly, I started to change. I went to rehab. I left the abusive boyfriend. I went back to school. I became a nurse. I met David. I found faith. I found purpose. I found life. And then Emma was born. Jesus said, "Do you remember what you felt the moment you held her?" I nodded. I felt complete. I felt like everything made sense, like this was why I was alive. Like this was my purpose. And he said, "You were right. She was your purpose, but not the way you thought." The vision shifted, and I saw moments I'd lived but hadn't fully understood. I saw myself with Emma, teaching her about Jesus, reading her Bible stories, praying with her, taking her to church, and I saw her absorbing it all, believing with pure, simple faith. I saw moments where Emma impacted others. A little boy at the park who was sad. Emma went to him, gave him her toy truck, told him Jesus loved him, and I watched that boy go home, tell his mom what Emma said, and that mom, who hadn't been to church in years, who'd been struggling with depression, who'd been losing hope, decided to go to church that Sunday. Because of Emma. Because of her simple words. I saw Emma's kindergarten teacher, a woman who'd been questioning her faith, wondering if God was real, if he cared, and Emma would hug her every morning, tell her she was the best teacher ever, draw her pictures of angels, and that teacher told me later that Emma had restored her faith, that Emma reminded her why she became a teacher, to love children the way Jesus loves them. I saw moment after moment, small interactions, brief encounters, Emma's life rippling outward, touching people, changing people, pointing people toward Jesus. And Jesus said she accomplished in 7 years what most people don't accomplish in 70. Not because of what she did, but because of who she was. Pure love, untainted by the world, unfiltered, direct from my heart to others. But why did she have to die? I asked. Why couldn't she keep living, keep loving, keep impacting people? And Jesus showed me something else. He showed me the future, the life Emma would have lived if she'd stayed. And what I saw broke my heart in a different way. I saw Emma at 10, still innocent, still joyful, still full of faith. And then I saw her at 13. The world had started to creep in, bullying at school, pressure to conform, questions about her faith, doubts, struggles. I saw her at 16, depressed, cutting herself, trying to numb pain that shouldn't exist in someone so young. The world had broken her, wounded her, stolen her joy. I saw her at 23, addicted, just like I had been, lost, broken, hating herself, hating life, barely surviving. And I saw myself trying to help her, desperate, heartbroken, watching my daughter suffer the same way I had suffered, unable to save her, unable to reach her. And Jesus said, "This was the path she was on, Rachel, not because of anything you did wrong, not because she was weak, but because the world is broken, and sensitive souls like Emma's feel it more deeply. She would have suffered, greatly, and eventually she would have taken her own life, just like you tried to do today." And I wept, because I realized God didn't take Emma to hurt me. He took her to save her, to bring her home before the world could break her, before she could lose the innocence and joy and faith that made her who she was. He took her at 7, perfect, pure, whole, so she wouldn't have to become broken. But what about me? I cried. What about the pain I'm in? What about the emptiness? And Jesus said, gently but firmly, "Your pain is real, Rachel. I'm not minimizing it. I'm not dismissing it. But your pain is temporary. Emma's suffering would have been eternal. If she'd lived, if she'd walked the path I saw, she would have died lost, broken, far from me, and I couldn't let that happen. So I brought her home early, while her faith was pure, while her heart was wholly mine, while she was still Emma, and he showed me something else. He showed me Emma's funeral, and I saw things I hadn't seen that day, because I'd been too consumed by grief. I saw the people who attended, over 300, many I didn't even know. I saw Emma's kindergarten teacher, weeping, telling someone that Emma had changed her life, had restored her faith, and because of Emma, she was recommitting her life to Jesus. I saw parents from Emma's school, people whose children Emma had been kind to, and they were talking about how much Emma had impacted their kids, how their children had been talking about Jesus because of Emma, how families were going back to church because their children kept asking questions Emma had planted. I saw my co-worker from the hospital, a woman I'd witnessed to for years, who'd always been resistant, who'd always said she wasn't interested in God, and she was crying at Emma's funeral, and I heard her pray, quietly, under her breath, God, if you're real, if you took this beautiful child to be with you, then I believe you're real, and I want to know you. I saw my own mother, who'd been estranged from faith for decades, who'd thought religion was weakness, and she was praying, really praying, for the first time in 30 years, because Emma's death had shattered her certainty, had broken through her defenses, had made her question everything. And in that questioning, Jesus was reaching her. Jesus said, Emma's life was a seed, Rachel. 7 years. That's all I gave her. But like the seed that falls into the ground and dies, her life is producing fruit, more fruit than you can see, more impact than you can measure. Her death is bringing people to me, opening hearts, softening souls, pointing people toward eternity. She's accomplishing in death what most people never accomplish in life. And I wept, because it was true, but it was still so hard, so painful, so unbearable. I miss her, I said. I miss her so much I can't breathe. I know, he said, and that's why I need you to see something else. He took my hand, and we were somewhere new. And I gasped, because it was heaven, real heaven, not clouds and harps, but color and life and joy beyond description. And there, running toward me, was Emma. Mommy! She crashed into me, her arms around my waist, her face pressed against me, and I held her, really held her, and she was solid, real, alive, more alive than she'd ever been on earth. I sobbed, I held her tight, I breathed her in, and she pulled back, looked up at me with those big brown eyes, and she was smiling, radiant, whole. Mommy, I'm okay. I'm so happy here. It's so beautiful. And Jesus is here, and Papa and Grandma are here, and I have friends, and I get to play all day. And there's no sadness, no pain, only love. Don't be sad, Mommy. I'm okay. I looked at Jesus. She's happy. She's really happy. He nodded. This is her home, Rachel. This is where she was meant to be. Her time on earth was brief, but it was complete. She fulfilled her purpose. And now she's here, waiting for you. But not yet. Your time isn't finished. No, I said. No, I want to stay. I want to be with her. Emma looked up at me. You can't stay yet, Mommy. You still have work to do. You have to go back. You have to tell people. Tell them about me. Tell them about Jesus. Tell them that heaven is real, that I'm okay, that it's all okay. But I don't want to leave you, I whispered. I can't lose you again. You're not losing me, she said. I'm right here. I'm always with you. You just can't see me. But I'm there. When you feel the wind, when you see a butterfly, when you hear a song that makes you think of me, that's me, reminding you, telling you I'm okay. And someday, not long from now, you'll come home, and I'll be right here, waiting, and we'll never be apart again. Jesus knelt beside me, placed his hand on my shoulder. Rachel, I need you to go back. I need you to live. Not just exist, but really live. Because Emma's story isn't finished. You're the one who gets to tell it. You're the one who gets to share what I've shown you. And through your testimony, through your pain transformed into purpose, more people will come to know me. More lives will be changed, more souls will be saved, and Emma's death will have even more meaning, even more impact, even more eternal value. I looked at Emma. She nodded, smiled. Go, Mommy, I'll be here. I love you so much. I love you too, baby. I love you forever. And the light intensified. Emma's image faded, and I felt myself being pulled, drawn, yanked back, and then, cold, shocking cold, water in my lungs, pain in my chest. I was coughing, choking, gasping. I heard shouting. Someone pulled me from the water, laid me on the bank, started CPR. A fisherman had seen me jump, had called 911, had dove in after me, pulled me out, saved my life, or brought me back to life. However you want to see it. I spent 2 days in the hospital, psychiatric evaluation, counseling. They thought I was a suicide risk, and I was. But I wasn't anymore, because everything had changed. I'd seen Emma, I'd held her, I'd heard her, and I knew. She was okay, she was happy, she was home. And I would see her again. When I got home, David was there, broken, terrified, furious. You tried to leave me, he said. You tried to abandon me. And I held him, and I said, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. But I need to tell you what happened. I need to tell you what I saw. And I told him everything, about jumping, about dying, about Jesus, about seeing Emma, about the purpose, the plan, the eternal perspective. And he listened, and he cried, and slowly, very slowly, he began to heal too. Not completely, not instantly, but he began to believe that maybe, just maybe, there was purpose in the pain. Maybe Emma's life and death weren't meaningless. Maybe God hadn't abandoned us. Maybe he was still there, still working, still using even the worst tragedy for eternal good. I started speaking, telling Emma's story, and my story, at churches, at grief support groups, at conferences, anywhere people would listen, sharing what Jesus had shown me, that children who die young aren't lost. They're saved, protected, brought home before the world can break them, that their lives, no matter how brief, have purpose, have meaning, have impact, that death isn't the end, it's a transition, a going home, that heaven is real, that our loved ones are there, waiting, happy, whole, and that we'll see them again. I met hundreds of grieving parents, people who'd lost children to illness, to accidents, to violence, to suicide, people who were drowning in grief just like I had been. And I shared what Jesus showed me, and I watched them begin to heal, begin to hope, begin to believe that maybe there was purpose, maybe there was a plan, maybe their child's life and death mattered in ways they couldn't see. I started a foundation in Emma's name, helping families who'd lost children, providing counseling, support groups, resources, and creating opportunities for those families to find purpose in their pain, to turn their grief into ministry, their loss into legacy. David and I healed, slowly. Our marriage had been dying, but as we began to believe that Emma's death had purpose, as we began to see the fruit of her life, as we began to live with eternal perspective, we found our way back to each other. We'll never stop missing her. The pain doesn't go away, but it transforms. It becomes bearable. It becomes purposeful. It becomes a reminder that this world isn't our home, that we're just passing through, that our real life, our real home, our real joy is waiting for us in eternity. It's been 2 years since I died and met Jesus, since I held Emma in heaven, since he showed me why she was taken, and everything is different. I don't wake up angry at God anymore. I wake up grateful, grateful for the 7 years I had with her, grateful for the impact she made, grateful for the eternal perspective Jesus gave me, grateful that I'll see her again. I don't question God's goodness anymore. I trust it, even when it doesn't make sense. even when it hurts, even when I don't understand. Because I saw His plan. I saw the bigger picture. I saw that He doesn't cause pain for cruelty. He allows it for purpose. He redeems it for glory. He transforms it for good. I live differently now, with urgency, with intentionality, with purpose. Because I know that life is brief, that time is precious, that every moment matters, that we're not promised tomorrow, that we need to love fiercely and forgive quickly and speak truth boldly. Because we don't know when our time will be up, when we'll be called home. And I want to make sure that when I get there, when I see Jesus again, when I'm reunited with Emma, I hear those words. Well done, good and faithful servant. You took your pain and turned it into purpose. You took your loss and turned it into legacy. You honored your daughter by living the life she would have wanted you to live. For a long moment, I stand between grief and glory, between earth and heaven, between what I lost and what I gained. And I realize that loss and gain aren't opposites. They're intertwined. I lost Emma on earth, but I gained eternal perspective. I lost my innocence about life, but I gained unshakable faith in eternity. I lost my daughter for a season, but I gained the certainty that I'll have her forever. If this story has touched you, if you felt that stirring when you whispered those words at the beginning, if you're carrying the unbearable pain of loss, then I need you to do something. Write these words in the comments. Eternal purpose, not because it makes the pain go away, but as a declaration, as a commitment, as a moment where you say, Jesus, I don't understand, but I trust you. I choose to believe that even this, even the worst pain of my life, has purpose, has meaning, will be redeemed. Because here's what I learned. God doesn't take children to punish us. He takes them to protect them, to save them, to bring them home before the world can break them. He takes them while they're pure, while they're innocent, while their faith is simple and complete. And He holds them, and He loves them, and He waits for us to join them. Your child isn't lost. They're found. They're not gone. They're home. They're not suffering. They're celebrating. They're not alone. They're surrounded by love, and they're waiting for you, waiting for the day when you'll cross over, when you'll see them again, when you'll hold them again, when you'll never have to say goodbye again. And until that day, you have purpose, you have a story, you have a testimony. Your child's life, no matter how brief, mattered, had impact, changed things, and their death, as unbearable as it is, can still have purpose if you let it, if you choose it. If you surrender it to Jesus and let Him redeem it. Emma was 7 when she died, 7 beautiful years, and I'll miss her every day until I see her again. But I'm not angry anymore. I'm not bitter. I'm not hopeless, because Jesus showed me why. And that why changed everything. Eternal purpose. Write it. Declare it. Believe it. And let Jesus show you that even in the darkest valley, even in the deepest pain, even in the most devastating loss, He is still there, still working, still redeeming, still turning ashes into beauty. And one day, one glorious day, you'll see your child again, and it will all make sense, and it will all be worth it. And you'll understand why some flowers bloom for only a season, because heaven needed their beauty more than earth did.